Yeah.
watching.
You could just say, "Hey, this is the outlaw Jesse Pringle. You're listening to the Break It Down Show."
What's up, y'all? This is the outlaw Jesse Pringle, and you are watching Breaking It Down.
Yes, the Break It Down Show. Say the Break It Down Show for me.
What's up, y'all? This is the outlaw Jesse Pringle, and you are watching the Breaking It Down Show.
That's right. We got the Petes coming straight at you. I'm going to get a Pete's way while he introduces Jesse to us.
Yeah, Jesse Pringle is a dear friend of mine that I had the chance to meet. We met initially on social media that connected us, and Jesse is from Kansas City, and that's a city that's near and dear to my heart. There's my Kansas City Chiefs jersey behind me, and Jesse Pringle is one very, very talented and ambitious individual who has created many of his own projects. He's a writer, director, producer, actor, musician, and singer. A modern man of many talents. He's an artist through and through. He reached out to me several years ago to be involved in a film and television, most specifically a television project. He created a series called Kill 'Em All, and you can find those on YouTube. And I really want to discuss that with him, but he was gracious enough to include me in an acting role in his limited series, Kill 'Em All LA, which we shot here in Los Angeles. What preceded that was Kill 'Em All Kansas City. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity to meet him, and I look forward for the next hour to visit and learn more about my friend Jesse Pringle.
Hey, Pete, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate the introduction, man, and blessed to be here with you, bro.
Why don't you take us through when I discuss you and your abilities and your talents with people, I sort of start, maybe this is my personal bias, but I know you're a considerable athlete. And so I think, tell me what that order of operations were as you grew up in Kansas City as a kid. Did you view yourself as an athlete or as an artist?
First of all, to even be considered an athlete from the Swede himself is an honor beyond honors. So, hey, bro, but to answer the question, to tell you the truth, Pete, I was an athlete by default, which means I had an older brother that just beat the shit out of me every single day. And his friends just tag team beat the shit out of me every single day. And, there's one thing I had to do was know how to run. And eventually, about 10, 11 years old, it was earlier than that, probably about 8 or 9 years old, I just got sick of getting beat down and just flipped out on them. And so after that, it was just kind of all competition for me. Like whatever it is, whether it was sports, athletics, or, some extracurricular activity or hobby, while growing up, it was always a competition for me. And that competitive spirit, I think, is more so the description than athlete, but I'll take athlete all day long. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I find sort of a line, a through line with a lot of successful musicians is that they through that anchor of discipline emanated from some sport or some activity or sometimes dance. Dancers are true athletes also, and but you've got the discipline to succeed, as you move through life. And I know that playing sports in my youth provided me with the discipline that has served me well throughout my life. What do you think, Pete Turner?
I'm trying to type all these dang messages into this live window format. I love it.
Well, I'll continue on this line.
No, well, let me make a point here too, because that description of yourself as an athlete or as an artist. What about you, Pete? I mean, you're a musician. You play on a trombone. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, have you played a trombone in years and years, or no?
Yeah, that's funny. I was the president of the senior high school band.
What?
Crazy, right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
And I was in, I was in stage and theater outside of football and track and field. I was on, you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
the weirdest, most, odd circumstances actually all lead to one way. And that's where we are right now. So.
Yeah, agreed. I will say that, and it's on my mind. I saw Benicio del Toro, the actor, this morning. I don't talk about it a lot, but I've been his personal trainer for more than a decade, and it's a friend and a relationship I value deeply. And recently, it just in the course of conversation, it came up. We were talking about the film, is it Bird, that Clint Eastwood directed, Forrest Whitaker? It's about the jazz musician, and we talk about Miles Davis, just talking about that jazz period, and I said, yeah, I know just a little bit about music, only because I played an instrument for a few years. He says, what's that? So that opened up that conversation. I played the trombone for 8 years and was in high school band and a stage band and a marching band and all that stuff.
Man, I love hearing that.
Yeah, and he got a kick out of it. He said, could you get any, like, do you still play it? I said, no, I haven't picked the thing up in a long, long time. He says, could you get a sound out of it if I handed you a trombone now? I said, oh yeah, I could get a sound out of it. Because so you could start playing it if you had give you a little bit of time to get ramped back up. I said, yeah, for sure. And he said, one of these days you're going to get an opportunity in a film or TV show or something, and you have to create an opportunity where you're going to pick up a trombone and just start playing it, and you will flip everybody's lid. I think, as actors, we, that element of surprise and that ability to do something that the audience will just go, whoa, get back in their seat and go, I sure wasn't expecting that. He goes, that's your whole card. One day, there's got to be a way. You got to figure it out. I said, I never even thought of it that way, but I'll work on it.
That's a great that's a great backstory for any character. You know what I mean? Like, and so yeah, that's cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. Tell us
about your background in the theater and what was that feeling like doing plays and what was going on there?
Like, I started grammar school. So I started, doing stage. We didn't have a choice back then. It was everyone's in the play, everybody's in the musical. You're doing this, you know what I mean? Until it got to the point where I actually auditioned for my first part, which was 4th grade. And so, I ended up getting that. But that was a great, thing to lead me kind of gradually. As I said, I was still playing football. I was playing football since I was 10 and running as much track as I could. I was running barefoot because once again, goes back to the story of being chased and beat down. So a lot of times you didn't have a chance to, a lot of times you didn't have a chance to pick up and put on a pair of shoes. You just had to be out of there. So, but what
were you running? Were you running 1,500 meters, or what was your race?
I probably at one time could have run the 1,500, but I ended up pole vaulting. I pole vaulted for like 6 years. I did triple jump for a couple of years. I did the discus my last senior year after I knew I was going to a D2 school to play football. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to put on about 40 pounds. So I stopped sprinting and doing all that and put on a bunch of weight just to play tight end. And, anyway, regardless, back to the acting thing. Once I started that process in 4th grade, I was always interested in doing the stage and things like that. I wrote my first stage stage play segment, if you will, 6th grade, because we had a little talent show among the 6th graders. So I wrote my first stage play segment then, and it was just a reenactment of the final scene of Rocky II, where both Apollo and Rocky knocked themselves out.
Yeah.
So, and then I played the other actor, of course. Went and got fake skin from the dollar store and some fake Halloween blood, and had boxing gloves and all that. So, I mean, it's been going on for a long time. And just like Pete said, you know, you pick up a horn, it's going to come back to you. You know, I can't tell you how many guitars I've owned over the years, but I still don't know how to play the guitar. I get, you know what I mean? Like, it more than anything else, you know what? Life happens. And so, you know, as Pete and you, Pete, can co-sign, you stack up your responsibilities like bricks in a house, man, or bricks on a wall. And so everything becomes a list of priorities, and music just, and playing trombone literally fell second fiddle for Pete after football in his, you know, Hollywood career. So I wouldn't say that's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a thing, man. And for you to pick up a trombone and start playing it out in a dark scene for backstory on a character in a movie or a TV show would absolutely flip people out, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. No, it's interesting to be around artistic people. As you well know, you cannot, you can't get enough of them. And I've been really blessed to have Benicio in my life for that reason. And he's got stories, and I'll share them from time to time. But the task of being an artist in Kansas City is not a new idea. Kansas City has been a great jazz city, right, for a long time, and it's a major city with a incredible commitment to the arts. I know Kansas City has more. Here's random, but it's interesting. I believe Kansas City has more fountains, right, public fountains, than any city in the United States. There's certainly art, and I believe only second to Paris in terms of number of fountains. That's my recollection. Yeah, so they have been cultivated.
You know how much the mafia loves fountains.
And speaking of the mob, which takes us to, let me jump. I don't know if rather than go chronologically, and I'll let you jump around. But my association with you, Jesse, is a wonderful project that I encourage people to seek out on YouTube. Won't cost you a thing, but it's called Kill 'Em All. And Kill 'Em All is when I first met you, and you discussed with me doing another season and transitioning and taking your Kill 'Em All project, which started out being shot in Kansas City, Kill 'Em All Kansas City, and then moving it to LA, Kill 'Em All LA. And so in preparing for that, I went back and watched all your episodes. So tell folks a little bit about that show. And you wrote it, you starred in it. It's thoroughly entertaining. Tell us a little bit about how long the episodes are and your mindset. And it's quite an interesting notion, I think, to be that creative enough to develop a project like that. Go ahead.
Well, thanks for asking, Pete. Kill 'Em All Kansas City, without making it into an extremely long story, let's just say was living in LA and then moved back to Kansas City, Missouri. And after the let's just call it real life training of LA and Hollywood, from some really talented individuals that have lived and worked as in the entertainment industry, whether it was film and TV or music or anything else, stunts even. learned from really great people who just mentored me, you know what I mean, along the way while I was out there, chasing my own deal. And when I made it back to Kansas City, I had gotten used to the hustle, so much. And the same happened for me. I stayed in New York City for a spell many years ago. And when I came back to Kansas City, great community, really cool architecturally for film and TV, because it seems to have a very classic kind of I'd say what do you say, Pete? Mid 20th century look, even early 20th century look in some places. A lot of old great buildings and things like that. So I'm back in Kansas City and used to hustling every day, trying to get something going. And after so many years already in the music industry independently, you learn how to either produce results yourself or hang it up, you know what I mean? So, or be, lazy. So, as I said, I thrive on competition in that regard, because my biggest competitor is myself. So, you know what I mean? I came back to Kansas City. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to create my own opportunity. I'm not in LA right now. I'm not doing a bunch of auditions. I'm not, walking into a room and there's 30 other guys that look exactly like me when I walked in, think I was the only one. So,
yes.
So I'm like, hey man, so let me develop my own acting reel, shooting my own show, written by me. And I'm just like, let me see if anybody's willing to throw down with me. So, fortunately, a lot of great film and crew and production side people in Kansas City were equally as excited to team up with someone who'd been out to LA and kind of experienced that whole thing. And as I said, Kansas City is a smaller community, but as Pete said, it's nothing short of creatives. It is a very creative town, and that is because it's dropped in the middle of the of America. You know what I mean? So it's smack dab dab in the middle of everything. So it just kind of melts together into a small community. So everybody's kind of all right, well, let's do something creative. Like Pete was saying before, it's got a history of jazz and all that. Well, the historic 18th and Vine is still in Kansas City and up and open for business, if you will. And that was originally rehabbed by previous Kansas City mayor, and now he's in the Senate for Missouri, Emmanuel Cleaver. And so, and if I got his title wrong, my apologies, Mr. Cleaver. But he originally rehabbed the 18th and Vine area that did see all this, Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, Nat King Cole, and Fats Domino. I mean, all these. This is where the crossroads were, if you will, for jazz and blues and that type of R&B back then. And so those places are still here, and I'll get into that because I was excited to shoot the first rap video and definitely one of the first R&B music videos at historic 18th Vine under the Gym Theater with the lights and all that stuff. It looks like a Universal set. You know what I mean? And but so Kansas City already had that natural attraction. I was back in Kansas City. I'm on the hustle. I'm like, all right, let me create this thing and just make this happen because I've got to compete with myself. You know what I mean? And so what a greater story, especially with all the folklore with Kansas City and the Black Hand, of the Kansas City Mafia, Black Hand Strawman. Terrence O'Malley wrote that. But with all of that history, it makes great for a Hollywood story. At least my opinion. I've always been more attracted to crime dramas and murder mysteries or things like that, thrillers in that regard. And Kansas City already had such an historical past and kind of a storybook past in real life. It made it an easy inspiration for what then turned out to be Kill 'Em All, Kansas City. Now, past director Sean Wright in Kansas City and I grew up kind of in the same area. And anyway, years apart, we came back together to team up on that. And at first, what I was doing, remember, Pete, I said I was creating an opportunity to improve my acting reel. That's how it all started, and being a songwriter, well, all right, I can write a scene. So I wrote a scene, and I'd write about 15, 20 different scene scenarios for different characters that I would have to star as that could broaden my acting reel, right? So Kill 'Em All, Kansas City was just one of those scenes, one of those 2 or 3 page scripts that we ended up developing. And so, after we shot it, and, that's how it all began. And does Kansas City have an organized crime history? Absolutely it does. Does it still exist? Absolutely not. But it makes for a great inspiration, for a great story. And, being a fan of Goodfellas and Casino, all those kind of dark organized crime dramas and things like that, that's just kind of where I went with it. My family heritage is all Irish Scottish. So, throwing me into the mix as this, kind of modern day Irish, Irish mobster, if you will, or street thug, if you will, and his brother, Clinton McCullough. Well, my character, Carson McCullough, his older brother, Clinton McCullough, was killed by the KC mob because it was a collection went bad or something. You can watch it. But McCullough, spelled differently, but McCullough is my mom's maiden name in real life. Clinton McCullough, my older brother in the show, Clint is my older brother's real name. So, what I mean? My mom's name. I mean, everything was relative. Everything was, I used to say, and I still will, art reflects life. And that's the kind of shit I like writing about and singing about and acting about. Art reflects life. Make-believe films and all that are cool and everything. But
when you're trying to decide on a part of a project, because you are a songwriter, because you can act and you can write scenes and everything, how do you gauge? First off, let me back up and say this. We were talking to Alex Ferrari, similar thing where he's in Hollywood working, doing all the Hollywood things. And he's like, it's just, I'm not breaking into the industry. And so he realized, like, I just need to do this myself, and created his own independent film industry, right? And then because he had this proven capacity to create things, Hollywood then started coming, but now on his terms. So I love that you're out there taking charge. He said this great thing. It's like, you can always write for free. Like, you can, like, writing is creating this content and forcing the market to deal with it. You can always do that. So any emerging people, just keep writing content and getting better at it. When you're trying to sort out, because you're like, I'm not an athlete, but you're doing pole vault, clearly an athletic event. You're doing all these different, you're going to take on football. So you throw some, so you're a can-do guy. When do you know when you're like, I don't need to do this? Yes, you can write a song, but should you be doing that? Or should you have your executive producer actor hat on and have somebody else write the song or whatever? Because you can do so many things and you're so adaptable. How do you know when it's too much and you need to change what you're doing?
My character says, "Stay calm and collected, stay chill and back behind the curtain, if you will." But my but my lack of patience for timeliness or production or what, basically nobody's going to work harder promoting me than me. And so, I would love to have a team of 20 or 30 people working for me and we're getting shit done. I said, but at the end of the day, I'm the one going to sleep and waking up, looking in the mirror, like, what's next? So if something needs to get done and no one's doing it, then I have to do it. I wrote my first several scenes for people to audition for, and people took, I wouldn't say people, but I'd gotten stabs at me for not writing in the right format or using the right app or something like that. You know what I mean? Like my script didn't look like every Hollywood script or whatever else because I didn't have any writing schooling or training. But it was a scene, and it made sense. And so until and I'm still learning how to do all that stuff. But until then, it still had to get done. Like it had to get done. So when we shot season 1 of Kill 'Em All, Kansas City, it was done with the great camera that we had, you know what I mean? So nothing should stop you, and nothing should get in the way of creating and producing results. Hopefully I answered your question in that regard, but hell, I mean, it's either going to get done, as I said, or you're going to be looking in the mirror like, who's going to do this for me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but not so much. Like, I know it's going to get done, but there's things that, as you take on, well, Pete and I talked to my buddy Todd Nunes, same kind of thing. He's an indie filmmaker. And because he can do it all, he has to force himself to not do it all and get people to do whatever, craft services. Like that's the last thing you need the director doing is handing out donuts and red vines and shit, right?
Right.
So how do you marshal out and force yourself to not be the everyman and now lead other people to go be passionate and get them to where they're contributing to the project in a way that allows you to take that hat off and let someone else be that creative force?
Well, thank you for steering me. So that's a great question because and we've got to put ourselves in check and be willing to be team builders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And leaders and shepherds in that aspect. And I would love, as I said, to keep building my team. And I am still building my team. So if there's anyone out there that's got interest, but specifically is skilled, at what we're doing here, whether it's music or film, production side, and stuff like that, reach out to me, and reach out to Pete. I mean, it's just got to be one of those things, Pete, where you, as I said, put yourself in check and be like, all right, like for instance, right now, like my music endeavors, I had to take a back seat and be like, yo, I can't do this all myself. That's obvious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now I've got to just chill out and say, somebody else do this, or you want to do this? What do you, when I meet people about, joining the Outlaw team and things like that, it's like, what are you passionate about? And I'd ask the same questions in regards to Kill 'Em All in the series, Kill 'Em All Kansas City and Kill 'Em All Los Angeles. But what are you passionate about, Pete? Like, what makes you hungry inside? You know, what's that fire for? You know, and because that's what I want you to do best at. You know what I mean? Can you do this? Yeah, that's great. Like, but what are you best at? All right, well, let's focus on that. You know what I mean? Because that position always exists too. Like, I don't want to go out there and sell my own, at the time, online series or web series, Kill 'Em All Kansas City. But I went out there, we did the film festival circuit. We did really well with Kill 'Em All Kansas City as a proof of concept, if you will, and as a web series. I mean, first season had 35 minutes of licensable content. And in that regard, at a film festival, I played the executive producer business, you know what I mean? And I took a teammate with me, and, you know, 3 hours later, I had not a distribution, but a licensing deal on the table for licensing internationally for the first season of Kill 'Em All, for the very first project I had ever written and produced and starred in. And you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen if you don't make it happen. So, but it does take a team. It does take many people. And just to bounce back to the music side, trust me, I would love nothing more than just to be the artist. Somebody call me, the car's out front. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I mean, you know, music's in the email box or whatever's happening. And it's just like now, you know, I've got a new single coming out on May 15th titled She Good. It'll be my fourth single under the indie label TME, True Muscle Entertainment, and promoting that even. You know what I mean? I'm still on the phone rather with getting bids from public relations professionals and things like that for doing a short notice single campaign, and you know what I mean? And of course, me reaching out to people online never stops, and that in itself is exhausting. So, you know, still building that team and trading assets with people, you know, that's very important as well. Excuse me, that's important as well. It's like someone told me one time. They said, you know, we are all scaffolding for each other. I said, that's deep.
Yep.
Because it's not that we're stepping on each other to get higher, but we all need each other to get higher. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only way it's going to happen. And so then it becomes about building and nurturing and maintaining important personal and business relationships. And then,
I love it.
You know,
it's your story. Excuse me, but your story just there reminded me of well, a few things come to mind. Is you've got a particular personality trait that I really admire so much. This one that I'm in particular I'm pointing to is you're very good at not getting. I think in the way I see it, very good at getting out of your own way. A lot of us struggle with being our own worst enemy. I know I fight with that.
You don't know me.
Like, I mean, I just love you. It was just a passing remark you said a few minutes ago. You said, I've owned countless guitars. I don't know how to play any of them, but it doesn't stop you from, in your mind, you're going to add that you're a rock and roll guy and you want to stand there with a guitar sometime. And I know you can play, but maybe not. You're talking about to the level.
No, not at all. I can't play.
Not at all.
Like, I've got a 12-string guitar back here somewhere. I don't know.
So the point is, you're not getting caught up in the details of you never had a guitar lesson, and
right.
But you know, and I see you go back and forth, and I don't know that there's a rhythm by design or it just happens organic. You go back and forth between your writing and your acting, and then your R&B music. And people have to listen to your music, and and you can get to it free on social media. We'll make sure that everybody, because I know you drop your music, and the full length music videos are absolutely beautiful. And by the way, folks should know when you see a really beautiful music video, the effort that goes into that is mind-boggling. I mean, per capita, per unit, per second of what's up on the screen, music videos are incredibly dense and densely difficult to do. Massive amount of effort that goes in, particularly in the way I see it in the editing process. So people can check out your music, but then so you being a filmmaker, that supports you being an R&B vocalist, and I would say and I'm not sure how much you benefit the other way around, or maybe you could opine on that. I see how beautiful your music videos are, and I know this. You know where to put a camera. You know where how to connect to a camera, and which is really your audience. That comes from your heart, and you can't do that unless it's really there. And but you know how to do things technically. And I'm not sure what the benefit you get as a filmmaker from your R&B. Maybe you could expand on that a little bit, because I find it truly, really interesting to see, somebody that can go, because they're really quite different domains. They're both in the arts, but make no mistake about it, very few actors are really singing. There's your J-Lo's. It's a handful of people like this in the world, but not many.
Man, that's thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and expand on that, how that relationship and maybe how that benefits each other, or not. I'm not sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that, Pete. We met strictly through film and television via social.
I did not know. Yeah, I didn't even know you could sing.
Via social media. And we met. The first thing I'll give a disclaimer is, in the entertainment business, I tend to be a bit of a let's say a shapeshifter. So, when Pete and I met, I was Jesse Pringle, executive producer, writer of Kill 'Em All. Before Pete and I met, before Kill 'Em All, before Los Angeles, I was a different stage name or brand name or alias as an R&B singer since 1996. So it started in music and then went to film, only to return back to music. So whether you say it's a means to the end, part of the creative process to continue building up, each of your layers, if you will, as a creative or as an artist, it all relates. And and thanks for noticing, the music videos. And you're right, though. You're right about I was so excited to get into the music video side of the music from the experience, real life experience that I had accomplished with the Kill 'Em All series. And that was 2 cities, multiple seasons, hundreds of people, and just learning from everybody, you know what I mean? And so then it became, all right, well, I know what I want to, I know what I like up here as a filmmaker. I know what lighting, I want it to look like. I want to set an atmosphere like this. I want this in the frame because I want to see this, landmark or whatever. And so I'm excited to shoot music videos after knowledge in the film and television world. And as I said, it all just ends up being a means to the end, if you will. And I still, like I said before, and we were discussing before, still have to get out of my own way. my first music video that I released under the new label was titled "I Want You." R&B track, shot in California, you know, shot in a house in the valley, in the hills, you know, big house, beautiful girl, and had a, you know, American muscle. I got a thing for American muscle, so I got a thing for classic hot rods. You know what I mean? And that's you know, something that I like to just kind of keep going. You know, I know the frames I wanted. I wanted to go to Malibu. I wanted to, you know, drive the canyon, Topanga Canyon, you know what I mean, all that stuff. And, but I had to get out of my own way. So I was like, you know, I went to my bro and partner, Big Court, the CEO at TME, True Muscle Entertainment, and he's produced some films in the past as well. And he was like, I said, Court, man, direct this thing, will you? Because I just want to be the artist. So, but, you know, I had a treatment already in my head. I was like, all right, well, I sent him all my, you know, I sent him a Google Doc of all my ideas for the treatment. You know, we picked up a great operator, videographer, and editor, Sean Riddle at the time. And we all just kind of teamed up. You know, I found Victoria Elise, what an outstanding model she was. But that, you know, that casting, it was a casting process. It was just like the film, you know what I mean? Like, so it was awesome to have that experience as a filmmaker to then cross that over to my music video, you know what I mean? Now, eventually, do I give up all the reins and, you know, allow another production company to take over the whole process of shooting a music video? Yeah, that'd be cool. You know what I'm saying? But until then, I've got to treat it like I'm the Quentin Tarantino of music videos and try and put something together, you know.
And what's next? What's coming up? What's coming up?
Well, as I said, I've got
you dropped it. You got a music video in ready to go, right? That's in the hopper. So that's going to drop. I want you to talk about that for a second. And I also know you've got your next film project in the queue, right?
I do. I do. We are, at this time, we are not shooting, or rather, releasing a music video for the new single "She Good" on May 15th. For it in that regard, video rights. Not that we won't make something in the future for it, but we've got our singles lined up back to back for release. So we've got to keep the production moving. And so, you know, independently and budget wise, you allocate money here, you know what I mean, or spread it along the line. So, you know what I mean, it is, we've got a lot of things coming up, and we'll certainly attempt to release music videos for every single that we put out. But if it's more efficient and worthy to release singles without the video, to continue promoting the music and connecting with listeners and to the audience, then that's the most important thing. I've got to get my music out there because that's how relatively I communicate. You know, by birth, you know, I'm an introvert, very much so. But once again, you know, when you're put in a position, whether it be you're homeless, sleeping on a subway in New York, you know what I mean, or scratching for gas and light bill money and water bill money, when, you know, when you're home alone or wherever it is, you gotta make shit happen, man. Like, so videos will continue to get made, music will continue to get released, but back to the thing where I had to learn how to be outgoing. I had to learn how to pitch and how to rebuttal and how to, you know what I mean, how to close through, whether it be through, the retail business or telemarketing business. Or, I mean, when you're in the entertainment world, whether if you're an actor or a screenwriter or a producer or a director or a singer or whatever, rapper, whatever, man, you gotta do whatever it takes to pay the bills until, as I said, a means to the end. Until everything else pans out. So, I could build a house. I could, there's 1,000 things I've learned how to do over the years just to be able to remain creative, to continue doing what I think and what I believe is an anointing from God. So I said it. That's how I am. So, I'll never stop doing that. So, if I've got to become or grow to be something more than just the original artist, an introvert, then it's got to get done.
I was recently, I was doing research for you when we were talking about having you on the show, and I saw that you were working on a project that you were going to have Don Fry come in and beat you up for a little bit. And we had Don Fry on the show the other day, so I'm curious how that all went down with you and Don and how that project went.
That episode is the same episode of Kill 'Em All Los Angeles that the amazing Petes Koch is part of, aka Big Ben.
Yeah, that was good stuff. That was time. Yeah, no, I mean, Don, that was my
Big Ben, the Aryan hitman.
Yeah,
but
Don Fry was great. I was inspired, and again, that was due to you and your relationships, and you were able to get Don to come on in, and he was great. Yeah, that was good fun.
Don is such a great personality.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In real life, on screen, in the cage fighting years ago, in the ring, he was a wrestler in Japan. You know what I mean? All kinds of crazy, just, here's the thing, and Pete's included, whether it's me or Don Fry or Pete or even you, Pete, we all got to be a bit reckless, in spirit, to be even attempting to do the things that we do. You know what I mean? And that's just, call it, an addiction to adrenaline, or as I say, competition even. You gotta get it's Don Fry is nothing short of that, man. If there's a description of a modern day cowboy, he's it for sure. I mean, he is so stoic in personality that, he has had an action figure.
Yeah.
We were talking about an original UFC Hall of Famer, Night of Champions winner, UFC heavyweight champion. I mean, this dude is just straight gnarly. And I met him through a friend of a friend. And friend of a friend? No, I met him directly through a friend. So it was just 1 degree of separation. And but those are relationships that, as Pete said, I created in Los Angeles just by getting out there, being a Midwest dude who worked hard, and it was honest about the passion that he had. And I was like, yo, I mean, this is what's going on. This is what I'm doing. I'd love to have everybody involved with it. We've got some great people already attached to it. We've got, a great crew, great locations already set up. And I was writing and producing and casting Kill 'Em All LA from 1,700 miles away in Kansas City. I had my first red carpet in Studio City at a Kansas City Chiefs friendly bar, and had a casting red carpet party, which I got in trouble for from SAG. So,
of course.
but before that plug got pulled, I was able to Taft-Hartley, I think 30 to 40. Non-union, passionate actors and actresses that didn't have any other option or opportunity to join the Screen Actors Guild. And, I remember getting my SAG card. I was Taft-Hartley, on a production called Water and Power, written by Richard Montoya, award-winning screenwriter. And I mean, I still try and stay in contact with him. You know, just the many different personalities that you meet, and what end up, you know, being professional alliances or friends or whatever. I mean, you know, burning bridges ain't the thing to do. You know what I mean? But on the same hand, you've got to understand not everybody's built for this, and you're going to get people that come in and want to be, oh, I'm all about it, and then just fall off. So, you know, I mean, that's where to me, where the whole athletic thing comes in and the competition thing comes in. You know, are you built for this?
Yeah.
You know, mentally and physically, are you built for this? Because for me, I'm going to train and I'm going to do it and I'm going to go hard. Are you going to go hard? Like, so, you know, it ends up being like that. And, you know, the weak always wither, bro. Like, nothing's going to stop this, you know, flower from blossoming, you know, if you want to put it in that way. But it is what it is, man. I'm going to keep scratching and fighting until everything that I get and these rewards are reaped. You know, and it's all for, to be honest with you, man, I'm just trying to provide for my family.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm just trying to do what I feel I'm best for, and God put me here for, and provide for my family, bro. That's it. My family knows that I would be homeless on the subway in New York City and still love doing what I do and try and do it because I got 200 CDs in my backpack. You know what I mean? And I'm good with it. Yeah. I'm good with it. I'll go to, you know, I'll go get some peanuts or something, like whatever it takes. But for, you know, for friends and family, for their sacrifice, bro, I'm trying to provide for everybody so we can do this. So, you know what I mean? And that obviously goes for Pete too, man. What a blessing it is to meet, you know, Pete Koch. I can't say enough about you, bro. Like,
thank you,
man. What an athlete. I mean, we're talking about first round draft pick. I don't know what your censorship deal is, so I won't start dropping F-bombs, but are you kidding me? I mean, you know, I grew up in that. I was born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s. So, you know, I remember watching Pete on TV. And to have the opportunity to work alongside and even in a lot of ways be befriended by Pete. You know,
here's Jesse. We were just talking a couple days ago. We don't talk on the phone a lot. It's mostly like a lot of folks. It's like staying in touch on social media. But when we do get on the phone, I always find discussing things with Jesse interesting. And here's I found it like a coachable moment. Here's a pattern. Again, I can identify it because I only will get on the phone with Jesse every 3-5 months, and that is he'll say casually, and I like the way that he presents it, but he'll say, "Let's do something together. Think to yourself what you might want to do with me and how I can help you, and I'll do the same. And let's work together." And I think you do that a lot, and it reminds me of how simple, free it is to mention to people that are in your circle of influence and vice versa that, hey, you know what, we're in this thing together. We're both artists. We're both looking to hire our station in life and within our careers, and just say it. Just say it. Don't forget to say it. Let's put it out there. Hey, what are you working on? What are you thinking about? Where's your head at? Let's do something together. Doesn't have to be today. There's no pressure, but just think about that. Just putting that out there is to me, it's like I'm repeating it only because I think it's that important that, and I think we could all use that reminder from time to time.
Yeah, you know, I thank you for mentioning that, Pete. It does come down to that, and you know, I've met so many people over the years that I feel like I don't follow up enough. So, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
in reality, so when I do have the opportunity to follow up, especially respectfully with you, Pete, I'm going to be spinning the wheels up here trying to like, yo, what are we going to get going? Like, you know, I've got to make this relationship a benefit for you and me as well, because I'm working with you. You dig what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I was just talking to your old teammate, Bill Moss, Big Bill Moss. Like, you know, I'm like, hey, Bill, man, let's do something together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But that goes for everyone, man. Like, so, and Don Fry was the same way. I'm like, yo, like, Don, you wanna punch me out, like, on camera, like,
Yeah.
it just happened like that. It was through a mutual friend, and Pete knows Jimmy Z, you know, and Jimmy would probably hate me talking about him or even mentioning him, but man, I mean, come on, Jimmy's the reason for a lot of my accomplishments in regards to LA and then post LA and then, you know what I mean, relationships, man. And James Zahn is a relationship master of ceremonies, if you will. I mean, he's a pro. He's been doing it his whole life. He was born in Hollywood, you know, under famous outlaw, you know, Hollywood actor, if you will, William Smith. But I mean, Jimmy Z, you know, Pete, how much can I say about that? Well, that's how Don Fry and I met, through Jimmy Z. So, you know, that happened. And when me and Don got together, there was a period in my life when I was fighting competitively for money to pay my bills, to put, you know, to make sure the heat was on, and to pay for my studio time. And I fought merely because there was nothing competitive athletically going. There was no release. Dig what I'm saying? Like, there was no release athletically, competitive, you know. So I was like, they said they'd pay me $500 or $300 back. I think my first was $300 to fight this dude, like, in a ring. Like, it is what it is, man. Like, and so I knew I could fight. I wasn't like trained up or anything like that, but go in there and brawl for $500, like, all right, I'll do that. You know, fortunately for me, I'm a better singer than I am a fighter. So, but it was all part of a means to an end. But while I was doing it, I did train as hard as I could. I did do as much research as I could. I did know who Don Fry was. It was Don the Predator Fry, man. So when I met him in real life, you know, first thing we did was we went out back and grappled. You know what I mean? Like, want to go outside and grapple? Want to go outside and grapple? Yeah, let's go. But, and then, you know, when we were on set, it's the same thing, man. He, you know, as a tough guy, he's got so much comedic timing as an actor.
Boy,
you know,
yeah.
He's just, you know, he's built for this. You know, he's like
really funny.
You know, he is like a bit in wrestling had to do some. You know what I mean? The personalities of professional wrestling too. Make you able to do that. But man, what a great personality Don Fry was, and fighting him on screen, it was wild and fun, and it looks awesome. So
when I went to see him down in Arizona, it was great. I had him do a couple of videos for a couple of guys that I did sessions with that day. And these are all badass guys. One's Jay Dobbins, an undercover ATF agent, and the other one is Sawman Sawyer, who's a SEAL Team 6 badass that goes and hunts child predators now. And so he did videos for these guys. And you're right, he's hilarious. He plays the bad guy great. And he's like, You know, he tells Sawman it's not good enough. Whatever he's doing, you're not good enough. I'll come out there and kick your squid ass. Maybe. Just do that maybe in there because, you know, you Steel Team 6 is hilarious. Hey, I want to make sure people know to go and find you on your Instagram account. That's the best place. Or if you just look up Jesse on YouTube, I've got the links in the show notes. You guys can find him there. But in terms of, I don't have any more questions for you. I'll leave to close out the Pete. But this is how you support independent artists: is going to their Instagram, going to the YouTube, subscribing, paying attention to what they do. And if you dig it, just support it by being present, by commenting, and just encouraging what Jesse does, because he's a get it done kind of guy, but sometimes it's nice to have someone say, hey man, keep doing it. I love it. Keep going. So that's how we all support a guy like Jesse. Go to the Instagram account, follow it, participate, give him some comments, and then I'll leave it to Pete to close out.
Yeah, no, I echo your sentiments, and those of us that are, artists, we have an opportunity to entertain people, make people feel better. I don't know when this episode's going to come out, but undoubtedly we're still going to be involved in. Most of us are kind of locked up during this COVID pandemic. People are watching their computers and TVs more than ever, and they're looking for good content. And you know what even drives that is they want to feel better. They want to be entertained. There's a lot. The unintended consequences of everybody being locked in their houses during this pandemic are depression. There's no doubt it's gonna be a lot of sort of wreckage to deal with. Make no mistake. But I do think that one of the solutions is, and one of the ways people can sort of soothe their emotions during this difficult time is to be entertained, and they can find it. There's so, in fact, the choices can be confounding. But I'm saying, hey, check out Jesse Pringle. See what the Outlaw's up to. It's free. Everybody's got YouTube. If you're watching this show or listening to this show, you got Wi-Fi. So go ahead and find Jesse. Might be simplest maybe to find you on Facebook or Instagram. I know that's how he and I generally communicate with each other. But beyond that, YouTube. You've got a very well organized YouTube channel. It's beautiful. You can watch one of his TV shows. Or check out his R&B videos. I encourage people to do that. Support him as an artist and make yourself feel better. It's good stuff.
And Pete, man, what an honor and a pleasure. All respect for having me on today. I love talking about the process, and I love talking about how important alliances are. And so I was very happy to make this alliance with you guys today, and look forward to working with you guys in the future. I mean, talking about what we love doing, I'm always down for it. So, you know what I mean? We do this anytime.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jesse.
Appreciate you.